We get started with this video, I would just like to say a big thank you to the Trackmasters Cup Series. Recently, he put out a video complimenting my Daytona 500 throwback race, and my channel saw substantial growth over a short amount of time. I think we gained about 50 subscribers. The video suddenly got, now it's at almost 700 views, so just big thank you to the Trackmasters Cup Series. Really grateful for the shout out. As for the new subscribers, thank you for subscribing to my channel, and I hope you guys enjoy today's broadcast. Welcome to Evergreen Speedway for the Evergreen 200. Tonight, the Perfect 8 Cup Series returns to action in the northwest portion of the United States at the 0.6 of a mile short track in Monroe, Washington. It's been a wet and wild weekend as fans and drivers alike have braved out the rain showers that have delayed this race throughout the day. Instead, we will do some short tracking under the lights to see who the best is here at Evergreen. Hello, I'm Paul Jones, your commentator for tonight's event. This race is bound to be one of the more interesting events of the year, as this is the first time the Perfect 8 Cup Series has ever ran at Evergreen Speedway. To coincide with that unknown, the drivers are going to have to deal with a green racetrack, as rain showers have passed through the area all day, with the cars, and also with cars that were originally set up for a day race. Instead, the race will happen under the lights, and that might possibly throw a wrench in some teams' setups. Now, before we take the command to start engines, let's take a look at drivers to watch for. Chase Elliott qualified on the pole for tonight's race, setting a blistering time around the 0.6 of a mile short track. His car has been fast all weekend, but with the advent of rain, might this have a negative effect on that number 9 Hoosier Chevrolet? We'll see. Another thing we'll be monitoring closely is the point standings for tonight's race. We have a close points battle with Brad Keselowski holding a slim lead over Kyle Larson by 5 points. BK starts second for this race, and his car has been solid all weekend long. He's one of the favorites to win tonight's race, and we'll see if he can extend his points lead by winning his second race of the season. And we have to remember also that a win in the Perfect 8 Cup Series is monumental for points, because first place gets 10 more points than second place. That's a lot. That can make or break a championship run. A win can help Keselowski pull out to a comfortable points lead, and it can also help a couple other drivers like Eric Almirola and Jimmy Johnson make up some ground and cut into that points lead. Both sit 31 and 38 points back respectively to Keselowski, and if either one of them wants to win a championship, they need to start winning, and it'll be interesting to see what they'll be able to do. Almirola rolls off third, Jimmy Johnson starts fifth. Denny Hamlin's another guy who would really love to win a race. He's been very consistent all year in that number 11 FedEx Toyota Camry, but he has yet to win a race. With his Joe Gibbs teammate Kyle Busch breaking through at El Paso last race to win, might that be a promising sign for the 11 team? Might that signify a win coming soon? We'll have to see tonight. He rolls off ninth, and he's 11 points back on Brad Keselowski. Kevin Harvick is another guy within striking distance of Keselowski. He's 21 points back. Sadly, this weekend, the Jimmy John's Freaky Fast Ford has not been freaky fast. He starts in the middle of the pack as his team has fought an ill-handling car all weekend long. Well, one of the things that might help that Ford team is the rain delay, so we'll see if the rain delay in the slick racetrack will benefit Kevin Harvick, and see if that'll improve the handling of the car, and he can salvage something out of what's been a miserable race weekend so far. Finally, what we got to talk about second and third place in points. So the two guys 5 and 7 points back on Keselowski are Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch. Both have not had strong weekends. Larson has had a really mediocre car. He'll roll off the grid 20th, so not a very good starting position for that 42 team. Kyle Busch, on the other hand, he qualified 7th, but his car has not looked strong in race trim. He's been middle of the pack in both practices, and it's just not been a strong weekend for that 18 team. But the rain delay might be a big help to both these teams, as, of course, throwing a wrench in all the setups, running at night. Well, we'll see. We'll have to see what that does. As for the meantime, it's time to go trackside and get the command to start engines.
Drivers, start your engines!
The engines are fired up and the pace car leads the field off to begin the pace laps. As meanwhile, let's take a look at our starting grid. On row 1, we have Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski. We talked about them in the pre-race show. On row 2, we have Eric Almirola and Matt Kenseth in his third race in the Perfect 8 Cup Series. On row 3, we have Jimmy Johnson and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. On row 4, we have Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. On row 5, we have Denny Hamlin and Austin Dillon qualifying 10th. Good spot for him. On row 6, we have Clint Bowyer and Alex Bowman. On row 7, we have Ryan Blaney and Chris Buescher qualifying 14th. Good job for him. On row 8, we have Kevin Harvick and Eric Jones. On row 9, we have Kurt Busch and Paul Menard. On row 10, we have Joey Logano and Kyle Larson. On row 11, we have William Byron and Sam Tyler. On row 12, we have Daniel Suarez and Ryan Newman. On row 13, we have Ty Dillon and Lawrence Tyler. On row 14, we have Bubba Wallace and Matt Tyler. On row 15, we have Michael McDowell and Jamie McMurray. On row 16, we have AJ Allmendinger and David Reagan. On row 17, we have Michael Castro and Matt DiBenedetto. And then rounding out the field, you have Regan Smith and JJ Yeti. Let's just take a quick look at the point standings before we get going tonight. You see Brad Keselowski up, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch 5-7 points back, Denny Hamlin 11 points back. As we get the green flag, and we are racing here in Evergreen. Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski lead the field to the green. Heading in through 1 and 2, we got trouble already! There goes Dillon! Caution is out on lap 1. That did not take long. Dillon furious with Bowyer over the radio, talking with the team. Let's take a look at replay and see why he's mad. It looks like he and Bowyer made contact heading into turn 1. Let's take another look at that. Really hard to tell if Dillon came down on Bowyer. Bowyer claims Dillon cut him off, so either way, it's a tough break for Austin Dillon early in this race, as we will go back racing on lap 2. So, early caution, and we're back racing under the green. Green flags in the air. Chase Elliott gets a nice launch, and right now, Keselowski looking to get second. We got Stenhouse loose. They were 3 wide. I think that was for third. Stenhouse gets loose. He saves it. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott has a couple car length lead over Brad Keselowski. We head through 1 and 2. Denny Hamlin taking third place over Kenseth, and Jimmy Johnson jumping to the inside of Kenseth. He'll clear him for 4th. As we begin lap 4, Chase Elliott continues to lead out front pretty handedly over Keselowski, and he has a Hamlin. Oh! Maybe a little contact from Hamlin, and Hamlin goes to the inside of Keselowski. Here comes Johnson to the inside of Keselowski. Hamlin takes second, and Johnson will take third from Keselowski, it looks like. Coming off of turn 2. Brad Keselowski falling back through the field. Meanwhile, it's Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin out front. We got a car around. It's Matt Kenseth. In turn 3, the caution is out, and it reports suggests Kenseth blew a tire. As we look at a replay, you can see him already shaking the car and just spinning it around and into the corner. See, shaking. He already knew he had a tire down. He was dropping back through the field, so I almost wonder if he had a tire going down this entire time. I mean, the cars have been sitting out with, of course, covered, but they've been sitting out in the elements, so maybe that had an effect. We don't know. And we're going back green at lap 7. 3 wide for third. Busch makes contact with Johnson and Keselowski. Keselowski falls back. He's wrecking. Stenhouse gets into him, and the caution is out. The points leader has just crashed. Brad Keselowski, his crew trying to repair the damage. There's a lot of damage, heavy damage for that team. Stenhouse and Bowman both get involved in that wreck. Man, we look at a replay. This all starts right here. Kyle Busch jumps to the bottom, gets into Johnson, who gets into Keselowski, sends Keselowski up the track, and Stenhouse just ran over him. There's really no other way to go around it. Stenhouse just ran over Keselowski. As we look at a replay again, just get shuffled out of the groove, and Stenhouse just, maybe he got a bump from Bowman, but Bowman just had nowhere to go after that. We look at another replay. Yeah, I don't know why Stenhouse hit him there. Either way, it's a tough break for Keselowski. They're unable to get the car repaired. He'll have to drive that number 2 car into the garage, and it's a very disappointing day for Keselowski. As for the meantime, we're going to go green flag with 5 laps to go. 3 flags in the air. Hamlin gets a good launch, and he's going to clear Elliott. 3 wide for 3rd. Truex backs out. Here comes Johnson to the inside of Kyle Busch. And Denny Hamlin took the lead from Chase Elliott on the restart using the outside line. And here comes Johnson to the inside of Elliott. Coming out of turn 2, Elliott fighting strong in that outside lane. Here comes Johnson. He's going to get a good run through 3 and 4 and clear him. 3 laps to go. We'll see if Johnson has anything for Hamlin as we get a couple flybys of the field. Looks like Kyle Larson making his way through the field there. As Johnson is there on Denny Hamlin. 2 laps to go. He dives it into turn 1. Good corner for that 48 team. Or for 7 time. Here they come into 3 and 4. Hamlin gets a better launch off 4. White flag, 1 lap to go. Can Johnson pass him? He dives low in 1 and 2. Hamlin continues to hold strong in the outside lane. Here they come at 3 and 4. Johnson gets loose, slides up the track. He's not going to be able to clear Hamlin. Denny Hamlin wins at Evergreen. And Jimmy Johnson was there. He was close, and he was unable to pull it off. Denny Hamlin gets his first win of the season at Evergreen as he burns it out on the front stretch. He's been wanting to do that for a long time, and he finally has as we get unofficial results. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, and Kevin Harvick fighting his way from 15th to get a top 5. Good run for that team. Kyle Larson finishing 9th. 2 notables. That'll keep him in position for points. Amarola falls back to 13th. I mean, just a tough day for that team after it looked so promising. And of course, Brad Keselowski finishing 32nd after running up front all races. We look at the point standings, and this is going to shift big time. Denny Hamlin is your points leader. Right now, he's 7 points up on Kyle Busch and 11 points up on Larson. Harvick 23 points back, and Brad Keselowski is 29 points back. Eric Amarola falls back to minus 41 points as we look at the rest of the field. Ryan Newman 11th in points. Truex is 13th in points. As you continue to look, William Byron back here, Daniel Suarez, Ricky Stenhouse, Austin Dillon. Not been years they've been winning. As you just continue to look through the rest of the field.
Well, tonight's race was pretty good. I mean, we saw an exciting race. We saw a lot of action happening. We saw some wrecks. And we saw major championship implications. And we also saw a championship contender win as Denny Hamlin able to hold off Jimmy Johnson, and that ultimately propels him to the points lead. 7 points up over Kyle Busch. Joe Gibbs Racing has really showed up in the last 2 races. I think that's one of the big takeaways for tonight's race, as right now, both their looks like they got 2 drivers who are going to fight their way all the way to Chandler Motor Speedway for the championship. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson finishes 9th after a sloppy weekend. He takes home a top 10, and he remains close to Hamlin and Kyle Busch in points. And, well, this is a pretty big victory for that 42 team, because this was a disastrous weekend for them, and being able to salvage a top 10 out of it is a promising sign. Might be a championship winning moment for that team. Jimmy Johnson also looked particularly strong tonight, and he's showing why he's a 7-time champion. I mean, coming through late in the season when it matters. And I mean, he's still far back. He's 36 points back on Denny Hamlin. And again, really showing how big a win is. And I mean, it still might be too early to count out 7-time. We'll have to see what Jimmy has for the rest of the year. Now, we got to talk about the guy who had a miserable night. I mean, Brad Keselowski wrecking out on the second restart of the race after Kyle Busch takes he and Jimmy 3 wide heading into turn 1, makes contact with Johnson. Johnson makes contact with Keselowski, and Keselowski gets ran over by Stenhouse and takes him out of the race. I mean, tough break for that 2 team. They've been running a great season. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this team rebounds, but they can't be feeling too good right now. And we'll have to see what they do in the upcoming weeks to improve the situation and keep themselves and maybe possibly get themselves a championship. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out in the next 5 races. Our next race will be at Charlotte Motor Speedway. A release date for this race has not come out yet, so we don't know. Might be a month and a half, though, is what we're hearing right now. But as for the meantime, I'm Paul Jones. Thank you for watching. God bless, and good night.